Foxes are beautiful animals that have so much in common with domesticated animals like dogs and cats. If you're someone that loves foxes as much as I do, then the question must have crossed your mind. Can you have a pet fox? The answer is yes. In some states, it is legal to have a pet fox. There are different laws for pet foxes in each state. Some states require a permit, some are rehabilitation only, and others require 200 plus hours in a wildlife rehabilitation center. There are also some states, like Texas, where native foxes are completely illegal to have as pets. There are a lot of people who successfully keep pet foxes. They are very loving creatures, and when you tame an animal, a bond does form between you. However, keeping a pet fox can be a very hard thing to do. A lot of work goes into having a pet fox or rescuing a fox. You must have some knowledge and a proper enclosure that is secure so they cannot dig out of it or climb over the fencing. You must also feed them healthy food and you must give them a ton of attention. Some people keep their pet foxes inside, which opens a whole new set of difficulties, such as damage to your home, the smell, and more. Foxes have so much energy, and that energy can oftentimes be destructive. Should you be able to have a pet fox? This is the second question most people want to know, and it's a hard one to answer. For the most part, foxes do not make good house pets. By house pets, I mean pets that live inside the house, or outside pets that have a yard. Pet foxes have special needs that go beyond a regular pet. There are conditions and responsibilities that must be met. While foxes are very lovable and tend to form bonds with their owner, they are still wild animals. They bite, they scratch, they damage things, and they poop and pee everywhere. Many foxes are also escape artists and make a habit of trying to dig out of their enclosures or bolt off when they get a chance. Have foxes been domesticated? There is a fox domestication program in Siberia that has been running for over 50 years. Through selected breeding and genetic experiments, they have domesticated, to some degree, a lineage of silver foxes. The program was started by a geneticist who believed that animals could be domesticated in real time by selecting the calmest and most tame of the species while using selective breeding. Domesticated versus tame. Sometimes there is confusion between these two. There are only a small number of animals in the history of human civilization that have been fully domesticated, but there are others, like silver foxes in Siberia, who are also considered domesticated to some degree. Some domesticated animals to mention is dogs, cats, horses, pigs, sheep, goats, and even cows. While there are still plenty of other animals that can be considered domesticated, such as rabbits, goldfish, rats, even llamas, many of these animals are tamed and not fully domesticated. So what is the difference? Domesticated animals over a long period of time have been bred to live alongside humans. They can live with us or be used for work and are tolerant of humans. Domesticated animals would not survive in the wild without us, due to thousands of years of domestic breeding and genetics. Tame animals are wild animals that can become tolerant of humans by being raised and cared for by us. These animals have not had the long period of genetic domestication that the others have had. Tame animals can be raised as babies to form bonds with us, but the fact remains that their wild instincts can kick in at any time. They will pee in your cat's water dish. They will love you one second and bite you the next. Many exotic pets are tamed and not domesticated. Are pet foxes exotic? Some pet foxes are considered exotic. And while all foxes may be considered exotic by pet standards, not all foxes are exotic by definition. Exotic animals are animals that come from another region. In the case of foxes, in America, fennec foxes would be considered an exotic animal because they come from Africa. Red foxes and gray foxes would not be considered exotic animals in America because they have populations here. As a pet, though, since they are not domesticated, many people consider foxes to be exotic pets. Are pet foxes legal to have? To know if foxes can be kept as pets in your area, you will have to do your own research. Every state in America has different laws, rules, and regulations. It's not just by state either. Different counties, townships, cities, and even other countries have their own rules concerning the matter. You will need to check on a local level if it is okay to keep a pet fox. How much do pet foxes cost? A lot of different factors go into the costs of obtaining a pet fox, such as the species, if the fox will come from overseas, and the price that that individual breeder will charge. You can only get the true domesticated foxes in Europe, and it's very limited. You should expect to pay anywhere between $1,000 to $6,000 for a fox that you intend to keep as a pet. Breeders within the United States vary with how much they charge. It can also be an option to rescue a fox, which is probably the best option, so that you can rehabilitate them. Unfortunately, many pet foxes come from fur farms, and they can be grossly mistreated by being overfed and kept in small cages. This can oftentimes create health problems for them. Can foxes be litter trained? Foxes can only be litter trained to a certain point. Some fennec foxes have been able to learn to use a litter box, but even then they do not use them all the time. In a broader sense, I would say no, they cannot be fully litter trained. Since foxes are tamed animals, their wild instincts kick in and they do what they do. They mark things with urine. In the wild, chemical communication is used by animals to mark their territories. This makes litter training very difficult for even the most tamed foxes. They have not been through the hundred and even thousands of years of genetic domestication. Pet fox diet. In the wild, foxes eat a variety of wild game animals, fruits, insects, and vegetation. When keeping a pet fox, most exotic veterinarians that are familiar with foxes suggest feeding them a raw prey model diet that mimics their diet in the wild. This means a balance of raw meat, vegetables, and a small amount of fruit. Other pet fox owners that I've interviewed have claimed that you can feed certain foxes different types of wet cat food and grain-free dog kibble. Fennec foxes, being from the desert regions, feed mostly on insects, so many fennec fox owners feed their foxes roaches, silkworms, and other insects, as well as raw meats, veggies, and fruits. Could you handle the responsibility? I think most people who want a pet fox are fascinated by them, and they believe that foxes are cute and cuddly, without realizing the responsibilities and conditions for owning one. Others may have done some research and know a little bit about the subject, but not everything. If you are considering obtaining a pet fox, you will want to come to terms with the fact that they do not make the best pets. They bite, they scratch, they pee in cups, they poop anywhere they want, even on your kitchen counter. If you are going to have a pet fox, you will want to have an outdoor enclosure for them, or at least access to one if they are going to be kept inside. Think very hard about if you have the money, space, and patience to raise a pet fox before you decide that you absolutely must have one. My conclusion. I love foxes. They are one of the most unique animals in the world. They have always had a place in my heart. They seem to cross the veil between animal and spiritual beings, for me at least. I think there is no doubt that some foxes could one day be fully domesticated. They want to be loved by us. Just look at any of the popular pet foxes on Instagram and social media, and you will find that they are sweet, loving, and incredibly vulnerable. If you're thinking about getting a pet fox, make sure you do as much research as you possibly can.
All things foxes.